William Karlsson. My big concern is that forward depth, though. And again, there you have a carousel of goaltending, but at least whoever they put in, it seems able to win games no matter what. So I'm not as... And they have a really good defensive core, so that will be huge to help the goalies out. But they don't have the offensive depth that I like to put them higher in division, but they're definitely still a playoff team in my eyes.
Yeah.
And then I still have Mark Stone injury concerns.
The way you say that makes it sound like they were on the fringe for you.
Well, I'm just saying why they don't compare to Edmonton and Los Angeles.
You know me. I'm a big goalie guy. Big goalie guy here. Comparing those goalies to Adin Hill, the way that he was, especially in that postseason, he was incredible. And he was their third string in that postseason run. Obviously, he's going to take over a lot of those.
He got paid.
Yeah. He got paid, and he deserved to be paid for that.
Yeah, you win a cup, like, what else are you going to do?
But he's just it's night and day. And I think at the end of the day, I mean, defense, offense, all that stuff matters. But at the end of the day, it's the goaltending that really takes the cake.
So who's your top three?
My top three,
yeah.
I've got Vegas 1, just coming off the cup. I understand. Don't give me that face.
Yeah.
I've got Edmonton 2 and the Kings 3.
Yeah. I just think the Oilers are going to be out for vengeance this year, and they're going to have a really great regular season. All right. So do you want to get into the Central Division, and then we can discuss the wild card?
Yeah.
All right.
Welcome, Peter.
Hello.
How you doing? We're doing NHL predictions, and then we're going to get into NBA,
Okay.
Damian Lillard stuff, and JMU.
Sounds good. Get back to the NHL.
All right. What's up next, Shane?
We'll do the Central Division. We'll do our playoff teams, and then we'll do like combined Western Conference, and we can discuss our wild cards, and maybe we can talk a little bit about other teams if we
Let's
feel
do
need
it.
to. So who do you got for the Central Division playoff teams?
My Central Division playoff teams are the Dallas Stars, the Colorado Avalanche, the Nashville Predators.
You are what? All right. So I'm assuming in that order.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just sorry. Nashville.
Yep,
Like,
Nashville.
I understand. I can somewhat comprehend why you would do that, but as my reaction shows, strongly disagree. But I do like the Colorado Dallas at the top. You know, of course, Colorado won a cup 2 years ago. They still have Makar, McKinnon, just a super talented team. And then Dallas, I really like the Matt Duchene signing because Nashville is in a bit of a rebuild situation. They're definitely going downhill, and part of that was buying out Matt Duchene's contract because he had a really huge contract and he was just super inconsistent. And then having him as like your second line center on a really cheap deal and just to shore up that second line center position. And now down the middle, you have Rupe Hintz, Tyler Seguin, and Matt Duchene. That is a really deep roster, as if they weren't deep last year. And we haven't even mentioned how good their defensive core is, and they still have Ottinger. With that signing, they are a true contender because they found that second line center.
It's a deadly team.
Yeah.
We love the Stars. We're big Stars fans here on the show.
Objectively, yes. As a division rival of my Minnesota Wild, it's kind of hard to root for them sometimes. But yeah, they're a good team.
Tell me why you hate the Nashville Predators so much.
It's just, I was looking at their roster, and they just have... I don't know how they're going to score goals. Like, scoring goals was an issue for them last year. And it's just, now you got rid of Duchene and Johansson.
They signed Ryan O'Reilly.
Yeah, and you got rid of Matt Duchene and Johansson, who were like, they're not great players, but they were contributors. And O'Reilly's old; he's not getting any younger.
Duchene's not that young himself.
Yeah, but he produces more points than Ryan O'Reilly. And then
It's the system. He's a system player.
yeah, but like after O'Reilly, the center depth shocked me because you had like Pavel Novak as your second line center. I'm like, that guy's been a bottom six guy his entire career. You still have Forsberg, but other than that, all of these guys on the offense are question marks. Cody Glass, yeah, he was a former top 10 pick, but he hasn't really shown that at the NHL level yet.
I
still
really
have Roman Josi.
I really like
but-
the defense and the goaltending on this team.
Well, yeah, Jussi Saros is going to be phenomenal, but if you're starting him every game towards the end of the season, he's going to get tired.
Just needs to make the playoffs.
And that the defensive core is just so much weaker than it used to be. Like, you traded away Ekholm, like, he was a huge part of that blue line, and now all that's left is Josi, and I don't know how these guys are going to perform without Ekholm anchoring them on the back end.
It's definitely an older team. This is like the last year. I mean, I trust in Barry Trotz to fix that team.
But it's just
But-
written on the wall. He's trying to retool.
I think
rebuild this
this
team.
is their last year that they make the playoffs.
They're
before
not making playoffs.
I think they're gonna do it. I think they're gonna sneak in.
It's just, especially with the other teams in that, like, so let's just get into this. I have the Minnesota Wild at that third seed, and I just don't see, unless the Wild goaltending falls off a cliff, I don't see how. And then Nashville finds ways to score goals through unexpected means. I don't see how they're making that wildcard spot over the Wild.
I think because we've seen this type of thing. We saw it in the Pacific last year, where top two teams and then there's like four teams battling for that third spot.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't last year, but we've seen situations like that, and that's what I think it's going to come down to. And I just I have it really between Minnesota and Nashville for that third spot. You're right. I almost picked Minnesota. That was basically a flip of the coin for me. I went with Nashville because I don't know. The Wild were so inconsistent last year.
No.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, they were.
They have been one of the most consistent playoff teams recently, ever since Kirill joined the team. And the only reason why they were inconsistent last year because we had injuries towards the end of the season.
Inconsistency.
But if that roster is healthy, that is a playoff team.
I don't disagree that they're a playoff team. I think they absolutely
better
are
than
a playoff.
Nashville.
And I think that Nashville's just going to have one of those seasons.
While they traded away almost everybody and they're rediscovering their identity.
Yeah.
And your Ryan O'Reilly is your old first-line center. And outside of Philip Forsberg, I can't tell you who's going to be a huge, meaningful contributor on that lineup.
We're going to win every single game by a score of 2-1. 1-0.
Yeah, Saros is going to be so tired by the end of the season. He won't be able to. He's going to slip by the end of the season because they just don't have the depth.
Doesn't need to. He just needs to hold for
Nashville doesn't have a Kirill Kaprizov.
No, they don't.
Nashville, and we also have Matt Moldy, Eriksson Ek. We have a really young, gritty lineup. We have a lot of depth at defense. We've been one of the best, most consistent defensive teams. And Philip Gustafsson had a huge season for us last season. Can he do it again is the big question mark, but I don't see a reason why he won't.
I don't know about you, Peter, but this sounds pretty Homer.
Yeah. I am definitely biased as a Wild fan, but Brock Faber, he's a defensive prospect that was coming up, had a really good playoffs. Yes, it's questionable. Let's see what he can do in a full season, but I have a lot of optimism for this team.
Right, and I think they're a very good team. I went with the Predators because I got when I was writing these down, it literally was I wrote down the word Minnesota and then I looked back at the list and then I deleted it and put the Predators.
I don't have Nashville that close to Minnesota. It's pretty clear cut to me that Minnesota's the better team.
I don't know. I'm a big fan of Nashville this year. I think they're going to be good.
I just feel like you can't tell me if you look at that roster that the depth is nowhere close to Minnesota.
It doesn't. There's so many teams that don't have depth. You put the Oilers number 1 in that division. I understand. I understand it's not the same. Okay.
Yeah.
I am well aware it's not the same. Okay. But
then why are you comparing it?
because you just talk about depth right there.
And that's a huge point of making the playoffs, is having the depth to make those runs and being able to score on every single line and having every single line defend well.
I am a huge fan of that defense. I think that defense
It's
is really
Roman
good.
Josi, and that's about it.
Nah, you'll see.
Name another defenseman on Nashville who's a solid contributor.
Tyson Berry.
He's old and washed.
They're
and
all old.
He's a defensive liability. And like Roman Yoshi's already the power play guy. Barry's more of a puck moving guy, and it's just the reason. There's a reason why Edmonton traded him.
There's always a reason. I understand that. I like this team.
He's just a shoo-in, so they have a roster that reaches the cap floor, so they can draft high. Like this team is not gonna. They're gonna be a middling team, best case scenario.
That makes the playoffs.
All right, let's move on. So let's go to our wild card
Wait,
teams.
who are your teams? We haven't even gotten there at all.
I agreed with Colorado, Dallas, and then I have Minnesota as the 3rd seed.
All right.
But I can very easily see Dallas. Like Colorado and Dallas, they're in a tier of their own. They're like flip-flop 1 and 2 for me.
All right then.
All right, so who do you have for the wild card in the Western Conference?
Wild card in the Western Conference, I have the Minnesota Wild and the Seattle Kraken.
That's fair.
I feel like I'm really disrespecting the Flames here, but also that organization is a mess right now.
It is a mess. I agree.
But I don't know, they still have guys. You know, as much of a mess as that organization is, they still have a solid team.
Yeah.
And that was one of those things where I was like, oh, should I put the Flames in? And then, they're going to fall apart halfway through the season.
Yeah. So the Calgary Flames have been a soap opera these past few seasons because, you know, they had the best line in hockey a few years ago with Matthew Tkachuk, Elias Lindholm, and Johnny Gaudreau. That was one of the most fun lines to watch in hockey. But then, of course, you know, their 2 big stars leave in free agency. I mean, Johnny Gaudreau leaves in free agency, you got nothing out of him, and then you had to trade Matthew Tkachuk because he didn't want to re-sign there. And then they got a lot of assets in return, and unfortunately those assets just did not perform last season. I would say outside of, God, what's that defenseman's name? Mackenzie Weegar. But looking at this roster, they still have a really deep defensive core. They have some great goalie prospects coming up. There's this guy named Dustin Wolf who put up insane numbers in the minors. I'm not saying the minors is the same as the NHL, but it doesn't hurt when you're setting up insane numbers in that league. Like Jacob Markstrom, he was a Vezina goalie nominee at one point. Maybe he bounces back, and if you can get somewhere close to that Vezina caliber player, that's a really solid defensive team right there. And then coaching was awful last season. You have a player like Jonathan Huberdeau, and you're forcing him to be something he's not. He's a very gifted offensive player. Let him be that gifted offensive player, and don't hamstring him by forcing him to play defense. And he had the single season worst point differential. He went from 120, 115 point guy down to a 50 point guy. So I just feel like he's can be close to a point per game player, and if he becomes that close to point per game player, this team would be closer in the playoffs. And then Calgary had the most 1-goal losses in the NHL last year. If half of those games go their way, points wise, they're a playoff team. But they have a lot of uncertainty with their contracts. They have a lot of guys on 1-year deals. This team is just there's a lot going on with this team, as you said, but I think they will get in as a wild card team. This team is deep. You got guys who are trying to play for their last years of their contracts. They're going to look to get paid. And I think if the defense and the goaltending figure themselves out, I think this is a playoff team. And then my second team is Seattle. Again, you're going to hear me say this 1,000 times. Seattle, they don't necessarily have a superstar yet, but they have depth. They can roll all 4 lines. The goaltending is still a bit iffy, but I think Philip Grubauer, I think he's going to come to his own and be a good starter again.
He has his off years.
Yeah.
And then he does his thing. He's very up and down. Grubauer is. It's just the Kraken. You said it. They're such a deep team that they'll be fine. They can score from anywhere. That's what's so impressive about them. Even I don't have the stat pulled up in front of me, but I have a brief recollection of them being like this incredible shorthanded team. Even like I don't remember how many they scored, but I feel like they scored a whole bunch of shorthanded goals too.
Phenomenal penalty kill.
It's just it's a very, very good team.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a big fan of the Kraken here.
So are there any teams you would like to point out for just team that you are on the cusp of putting them in, or a team that could be fun to watch?
I don't know. I don't think this team is ready to make the playoffs yet, but the Ducks keep getting a little better every year.
Yeah, I'm just worried that the Zegras contract situation may cause a distraction because he's trying to get paid, but I think Dallas is a little bit wary of paying him yet.
I know, but they're gonna pay him.
Yeah, at some point.
And then the Jets.
That's an interesting team right there.
That's a team that could be so good.
Could be.
But they also could be really bad.
Well, because they have a lot of guys, like Hellebuck, I feel, has their Vezina winning goalie. It's just like, I don't know if he's going to want to trade or if he's going to sign an extension. Mark Scheifele's on the last year of his deal. He's at least a really good second line center on a contender, and he can be a first line guy. But I think, Boston's in need of a center. Maybe there's a trade there. And they have a lot of really good star players. It just seems like they just haven't been able to get it together these past few seasons. So it could go either way, but I just don't see. I feel like that team is in a transition phase where they're looking to find a new core group of players.
Yeah, but they were supposed to do that last year. And then they made the playoffs.
They did. Did they?
Yeah.
Who did they face in the first round?
Edmonton.
Oh, that's why. They were done pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well, no, maybe it was the Kings. I'm sorry, not the Kings. Maybe it was the Knights. They played the Knights.
Yeah.
Because Edmonton played the Kings.
Yeah, so they probably barely squeaked in, and again, they were so forgettable they got smoked in the first round. Yeah, and then Morrissey had a really good season, but again, that was kind of, I see that as his peak. I don't know if he's going to be able to repeat that. And with Blake Wheeler leaving, that's a huge veteran presence. They have a lot of young guys coming in. It'll be interesting to see how they perform. But when you have a team with that much uncertainty, I know I'm a hypocrite because I have Calgary in the playoffs, but when you have a team with that,
you have Calgary in the playoffs?
Yeah, I just went on a whole spiel on that. Again, they were a really close playoff team, and I just think Huberdeau's going to bounce back. Markstrom's going to bounce back. I just think they had seasons that were so bad that I can't imagine it getting worse, knock on wood. Because, Jonathan Huberdeau is not a 50-point player. Jacob Markstrom is a starting caliber goalie. I think they had down years. I think they'll bounce back with new coaching. And then they just really good defensive team on paper. So I just think that would be And they almost made playoffs last year, so I think if those things improve, they'll be a playoff team.
Yeah. All right. Eastern Conference, Shane.
Oh, and then one more thing for the Central. Just if you're ever watching the Chicago Blackhawks, just look out for Connor Bedard. Like, that guy has so much hype. He's looked so good in the preseason. Just look out for Connor Bedard and the Chicago Blackhawks. They're not making the playoffs, but he's going to be a spectacular player to watch.
What does he do this? We'll talk about this later.
Yeah.
But anyway, Eastern Conference, Shane. What goes on here?
Which division do you want to go through first?
Well, let's start in the Atlantic.
All right. So, I feel like the Atlantic Division for me has been the same for the longest time, and I'm not changing it now. And I have.
Oh, the same.
I'm just. It's gonna be a tricky division, but I'm just going with all reliable and doing Toronto, Boston, Tampa. I have Toronto winning the division. Tampa, they don't have Vasilevsky to start the season, which worries me. But they still have that core group of players there. And I'm not betting against them yet. John Cooper's still the head coach. I don't see them falling out of the top three. And then I have Boston. They have a really good defensive core. Pastrnak and Marchand are still there. And a really solid goaltender duo. I don't see those veterans not making playoffs. So, those are my top three.
All right. I've got Maple Leafs, Lightning, Panthers. Just because, gotta put some respect on their name. You gotta.
When Sergei Bobrovsky has a good regular season for Florida is when I will.
I don't need him to have a good regular season. They have like 3 goalies that are solid.
You don't understand how close they were to missing playoffs last year. They were so close to missing playoffs.
I very much understand.
And Sergei Bobrovsky hasn't been a good starter for Florida since he signed there.
Right.
And until I see, yes, he had a spectacular run in the playoffs, but in order to play in the playoffs, you need to make it there. And to make it there, you need to have a good regular season. And if you do not have consistent goaltending, that's very iffy if I see you as a playoff team. I'm also really hesitant about their defense. They have a phenomenal forward core. I will not get you wrong. They have a spectacular forward core. It's just the defense still concerns me. And with how close they were to missing last year, I do not feel comfortable putting them in the top 3.
Let me ask you a question, Shane.
Yeah.
You're building a team here, right? Not with players, but you can only you forwards, defense, goalies.
Yeah.
You can spread it out however you want. Good, average, bad. How are you spreading that out, ideally?
Good, average, bad.
Goalies, defense, forwards. How are you splitting that up? You can only have one group be good, one group be bad, one group be average.
That is tough. Bad forwards, good D, average goaltending.
All right, cool. I'm just curious, because I don't know how you would build a hockey team, because we've talked about all these different ways to do it.
Well, preferably all of them would be good.
I know,
it's
but
just the forward position is a lot more replaceable than defense and goaltending.
All right, fair. All right, but yeah, no, I mean, I understand that Bobrovsky isn't a great regular season goalie, but he doesn't need to be. They got Spencer Knight. He's been a solid regular season goalie.
He's been dealing with some personal issues.
Oh, has he?
As of late. He missed the second half of this season because he was dealing with some mental health issues. So it's just, again, question mark how he bounces back from that. I looked at their goalies and I was just I have no clue who these guys are, or it's just they're very fringe NHL kind of goalies. And I'm just, again, if I have uncertainty of out of position, it's just not good for me seeing them as a playoff team or a top 4. Like, don't get me wrong. I think Florida could easily make the playoffs. Would not shock me one bit. It's just these are the concerns I have for them, and it's why they're not in the tried and true Toronto, Boston, Tampa.
Yeah, that's fair. I just think Boston lost so much this offseason
Yeah.
that I can't put them. Like, I still haven't making the playoffs, but
Which is fair.
They just lost so much this offseason, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway. Metropolitan Division here, Shane. This is an interesting one. What do you have going on here?
Do you agree with me that the top 2 teams in the Metro are kind of like in a tier of their own?
Yeah.
You have Carolina, New Jersey.
Yeah, I got Carolina, New Jersey above.
The third spot is the tricky one. Because I feel like all of those teams are like kind of in a tier together. But I feel like most people have like 2 teams that are interchanging in that third spot for Metro.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that could happen in that Metro.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, aside from the Hurricanes, I mean, I love the Devils. All right, I think
the Devils are stacked.
I think the Devils are up there, right? I think it's Hurricanes, Devils, everyone else.
Yeah.
Right? You know, but I think the Devils are closer, or like if they have like one bad injury, you know. I'm
okay. Well, if Jack Hughes gets hurt, then I would be concerned. But other than that, I think they have a really deep forward core. Their defense is really deep. The only questions I have is goaltending, but their goaltending is decent enough where they can win games. You know, because, Vitek Vanacek, he's anything, he's consistent.
Mm-hmm.
He's consistently average.
Yep.
So, but like outside of Jack Hughes, I don't really see, injuries are just going to suck regardless, but they have like the forward depth where I feel they can circumvent that. Because they just got Tyler Toffoli. So like you have Jesper Bratt, Timo Meyer, Tyler Toffoli, Dawson Mercer. Like you have guys who can step up if there is a major injury in that forward core.
And at my third spot, I've put the Rangers. I know you're a little lower on the Rangers.
No, I actually have the Rangers here.
Okay. I just can't go against Shesterkin.
Yeah, Igor. Don't forget Adam Fox. I don't know how I always forget the Rangers have Adam Fox, and he's like a top 5 D-man in the league.
I'm a big goalie guy.
Yeah.
I love me some goalies. I'm a big goalie guy. They got the goalies. I'm a put them a couple ranks higher. I think that is honestly why I picked Nashville.
Yeah, because UC Saros.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But no, I love me some goalies.
Yeah, but the difference is the Rangers are
a much better team than the Predators.
Mika Zibanejad. They have an Artemi Panarin. They have a Keandre Miller. They just have like other guys in that system. And I'm just the Rangers will go as far as Lafreniere and Capo Kakko. They are a former number 1 and number 2 overall pick. These guys have got to produce if this team wants to be relevant.
Yeah, that was their issue last season. The scoring just stops.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. Like, I don't know exactly what it was. It just didn't happen.
Yeah.
And I think they can fix it. So, I'm still pretty high on the Rangers. Like, I might put the Rangers up in that tier, honestly, with the other 2.
It's just until I see what Kakko and Lafreniere can do, I just don't. Carolina and New Jersey are in a tier going into that division.
It's fair. And wild cards here.
Yeah.
What you got? What you got for this, Shane?
All right. So, in no particular order, I have Pittsburgh as a wild card team.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest issue with them is health. Because, like, on paper, really good roster. You have Crosby, Malkin. I know Getzel's going to be hurt to start the season, but once he's back, he's just a goal scorer. You have Rust. They got Riley Smith. You have Chris Letang. And I haven't even mentioned that they got Erik Karlsson in the offseason. Like, that power play will be insane. But again, all these guys, they're old, and they have histories with injuries. And then Tristan Jarry, he's a phenomenal goaltender when healthy. And he's just had injury issues a lot these past few seasons. But if this team can keep it together, they're a playoff team in my eyes. So not counting for injuries, I have the Pittsburgh Penguins as the wildcard team. And then my other wildcard team is more of a fun pick. I am really high on the Buffalo Sabres.
Dang, I thought I was going to get you with that one.
Yeah, they're just... oh, that's a fun team. It's just there's so many young, talented guys. Tage Thompson is such a fun player to watch. Devin Levi, this goalie prospect, has getting a lot of hype.
That's what I'm really excited about.
He may be maybe a backup role. I'm not saying it's a starter yet, but if he could get like a backup role, it'll be fun to watch him play. You have Rasmus Dahlin and Owen Power. That's a really good start to a defensive core. Like, this team was so much fun to watch. If they get their defense together, they're a playoff team.
Yeah, I have the Bruins and the Sabres. You talked all about it with the Penguins. They're there. They're old.
Yeah.
And they are going to have the second best power play in the league. The best power play in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
That is going to be a very fun first line. Very fun. So much fun. But I don't trust Tristan Jarry. I just don't.
To stay healthy or perform well?
Both.
Okay.
Mostly the perform well, because I'm never going to do predictions based on injury. But the Bruins, we talked about a little bit. They lost a lot, but they're still the Bruins. They just came off the best regular season ever. They didn't lose enough to miss the playoffs. And the Sabres, I'm a big fan. I think Levi's going to take the starting role. I do. And I think he's going to be good. I'm very excited.
Yeah, that's what the script writers want to happen. Just a really good narrative right there. Because, he was like a 7th round pick.
Break the curse.
Yeah. Came out of nowhere. It's just a really good story for that guy.
Shane, what's your Stanley Cup prediction?
Oh, God, don't do this to me.
Finals matchup, finals winner. Peter, I want your Stanley Cup matchup, too.
Yep, let me look up teams.
In the West, I'm going to go with the Oilers. In the East, this is going to be a tough one. Do I really want to say the
New
Jersey
do.
Devils?
Yeah, you do.
It's between New Jersey and Carolina. For
me. Yeah, you do.
You know what? I'm gonna go with the spicy take. New Jersey Devils. That is just that would be such a fun Stanley Cup matchup, and I'll have the Oilers winning it all.
Yeah, I almost said the Devils. For me, in the East, it was between the Devils and the pick that I'm gonna have, the New York Rangers.
Oof. You think Kakko and Lafreniere are going to have a good season?
Not just that. I think that Igor Shesterkin is going to win the Vezina and be the best goalie. Like, officially, I think he's going to take the crown from Vasilevsky this season.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be the main thing that powers them there. And, I love this so much. This is going to be the greatest. The Dallas Stars.
Oh, my God. I mean... It's not a bad take. It's just you're just choosing the Dallas.
No, I'm not. This is not. It's not the only reason.
Yeah.
I can't stop thinking about.
Your infatuation.
I can't stop thinking about an Ottinger-Shesterkin Stanley Cup matchup.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
I cannot stop thinking about that. But no, that's not the only reason. We talked about the Stars.
Yeah.
They are so top heavy and so deep at the same time.
You can just say deep.
No, because that wouldn't give credit to the
top
Stars
guys,
at the
Henson,
top.
Robertson.
They have like two lines of like stars on their team. They have 4 lines of stars actually, but
their entire roster is full of stars.
But no, that team is going to be really, really good, and
yeah, I am convinced Joe Pavelski is not human. He's like 38, 39 years old, and he had his best season last year.
Uh-huh.
Like, the dude got a concussion, came back into the playoffs and scored 4 goals. Like,
yeah,
this until I see it happen, Joe Pavelski's just gonna have a good season.
Like, there's a difference between a team like the Kings that are deep, or I guess the Kraken is a better example, that are deep, and a team like the Stars that are deep
and have star power.
Exactly. That's what I mean by, like, they have the top heavy, and
yeah, I got you.
I am just a really big fan of the Stars this season. I think they're gonna win.
Shout out Miro Heiskanen, really underrated defenseman.
Right. No, like, the Stars had like a lot less to do with Ottinger than the Rangers had to do with Shesterkin.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Do you have Dallas winning it?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that'd be awesome. That'd be my favorite thing.
Yeah.
I'd be so happy.
All right, some teams I also want, like Ottawa is kind of like, I would say they're a poor man's Buffalo.
Uh-huh.
They have a lot of really young, exciting guys coming up. Again, I'm not certain about their goaltender situation. Their defense is a lot younger, and again, they just don't have as good defense. But they're, again, really young, up-and-coming team. They may they'll cause havoc with the big three in the Atlantic Division. Detroit just got Alex DeBrincat. Detroit, also another team on the up and up. I just don't think they have the star power to compete with the other teams in that division. I do have Florida just missing it, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if they were in there somewhere. I think it was really hard for me to have Florida miss, but I just think Buffalo is just the sexier pick, just because it's like the up-and-coming, young, hot team. And then, since we are want to talk about the Caps a little bit, or
we'll talk about them all season. They're not quite there.
Will Ovechkin get another 40-goal season?
Yes.
Okay. We'll just end it at that. The Caps may not be well, but Ovechkin going to get a 40-goal season.
All right, Peter, before we move on, what's your Stanley Cup matchup?
All right, here we go. The Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yes.
In the Eastern Conference, and the Oilers.
I love that. I love that so much,
Canada
Peter.
matchup. Who's winning that?
Maple Leafs.
It's going to happen.
I don't,
It's going to happen.
The Maple Leafs are like the Dallas Cowboys. It's just like, I'll believe it when I see it.
It's going to happen.
They always have so much hype, and they just always fail to live up to expectations. So it's just, I'll believe it when I see it.
Which kind of scares me about the Dallas Cowboys, because they have no expectations this season.
What do you mean they have no expectations this season?
Everyone knew they were going to be horrible. Everyone.
Everyone?
They have like a really good game, and they follow it up with an awful game.
They just lost to the Cardinals.
Gave up 30 points to the Cardinals.
The
Cardinals. And lost to the Cardinals.
Even Daniel Jones beat the Cardinals.
Daniel Jones' legacy game. Legacy half.
I was going to say game.
Half. Legacy half. Daniel Jones' legacy half. But no, before we get into football, the big story of this week. Damian Lillard is finally traded out of Portland and is now officially a Milwaukee Buck.
Yeah, honestly crazy.
Now, I don't know what your thoughts are on this trade, Peter, but I thought, honestly, it was not that much for the Bucks to give up.
No, not at all. I think it's a really good trade for the Bucks. The problem is we got to see how Damian Lillard actually performs. He has been doing worse over the past few years, but you can also claim that he was with the Trailblazers, who had no intention of actually building a winning roster, and he's getting older.
I mean, yeah, he's not in his prime anymore.
Not even remotely.
But that doesn't. I mean, when you say he was declining, I mean the numbers he was putting up last year were still.
But you also have to realize that he used to be on good teams and putting up those numbers.
Right.
Good teams, good numbers. Bad team, good numbers are two very different things.
Yeah. I mean, but still, it's Dame.
It's
Dame,
it's
you
still
know?
Dame Lillard. I mean, there's no arguing it's still Dame Lillard, and he's one of the best point guards in the league by far. But he's not the Dame Lillard of years ago.
No, but it's scary. It's scary that combo with him and Giannis.
I'm very interested to see how that will work because Dame Lillard is someone that really needs the ball in his hands at all times.
Giannis doesn't need the ball in his hands at all
Giannis
time.
doesn't need the ball in his hands at all time, but he also needs the offense to flow through him.
Right, and that's fine. I think Dame's going to take the backseat to him. Or, for it to work, he has to.
I mean, I think that if Dame tries to be like, no, Giannis, I'm the star here, then everyone's just going to laugh him out. I mean, they gave up Drew Holiday, and don't get me wrong, Drew Holiday's been playing really good the past few seasons.
He's about to get flipped to, like, Boston or something.
Yeah, but, I mean, at the end of the day, Bucks definitely got what they needed to hopefully keep Giannis, which was the whole reason.
He said he was happy with it.
Yeah.
So.
Which was, people were really worried about because he didn't respond at first. He just didn't say anything. And my guess is he probably just said stuff behind closed doors because Giannis isn't someone who needs the media to give him credence on every single step that he makes. He's not I'm trying to think of an NBA player that needs the attention on them at all.
James Harden.
James Harden, Russell Westbrook, even though Russell Westbrook tries to act like he doesn't. He doesn't need the attention on him at all times. So, I think it's a really good trade. I still don't think it will be enough, but it's a really good trade.
You don't?
No.
Celtics
are too good.
I don't know how you guard that combo, honestly. And then, even if you do, they were able to keep Chris Middleton if he stays healthy with his shooting. Like, you can double Giannis in the post, or you could send people out on Lillard, but you can't cover all three of them.
No, but I think that if there's a team that can, it's probably the Celtics. And unfortunately, they have to beat the Celtics to even get to the finals. So, and then, I mean, on the other side, there's several teams that have done really well in this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Lakers literally got every single person they wanted back. And the Nuggets haven't really lost anybody. And the Suns are going to have a full season with their entire depth lineup, essentially.
They filled out the bench, too, with this trade. That was huge. That's another thing. Like, I think it really worked out for all three of the parties.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the Suns will probably win the finals this coming year.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's time for Devin Booker to win a finals game. And, I mean, it is. It's time for him to win. It's essentially put up or shut up,
He's got a year 2 max with that team to win a championship.
Yeah. I mean, the Suns have done everything they can to get that. You can't argue it. They've done everything they can to get it.
Did we talk about the Beal trade on here? I don't remember.
I don't know. I think we did probably touched on it.
Yeah.
When did that trade occur?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Because if it was over the summer, then we didn't.
I think it was right before you guys left for school. I mean, after school ended. I think we talked about. I think it was like one of the last shows.
All right. Anyway, no, they flipped Ayton. They got.
But DeAndre Ayton.
He's not moving.
He was supposed to quote unquote be the next Shaquille O'Neal, and even at the time, everyone who actually knew how Shaq played was like, he's not the next anything. He's not the next Shaquille O'Neal. But they don't need him. They have Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant.
That's all they need.
And that's all they need. Like,
they just need. They needed depth, and they got depth.
And the Warriors have decided to take a play out of the Lakers playbook, which is the older the players, the better we do.
What are they doing with Chris Paul?
So Chris Paul's going to start as a point guard.
Why?
Because they think that they can move Steph to the 2. I think he would have been better off as a 6th man that comes off the bench.
Yeah, he'd be great with that second unit.
The second unit. That's how they won and made a dynasty, is the second unit squad. Because every single team does it the same way. They have all their good players to start, and then they take them all off pretty much at once. They do it by a few minutes difference, but they almost take them all off. Then they bring in a second team. And what the Warriors did was they were like, well, why would we do that when we can just have a really good player come off the bench? And then he comes in with the second team, and then they either have to like change their plans by bringing one of their good players off the bench now, but then that takes away from their lineup because they're not used to it. So I don't know why they're not doing it, but I don't know.
Yeah. Real quick before we continue this, we've reached the top of the hour here on WXJM 88.7 FM, Harrisonburg, Virginia, and WXJM.org. My name is Jeremy Lapidus, host of this Triple Threat show, joined as always by my two friends and co-hosts,
Shane Brisland.
And
Peter.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We are live on YouTube at the Triple Threat Show. We are on Twitter at 3 Threat Show and on Instagram at the Triple Threat Show. Check us out there. Anyway, do you think it's more Chris Paul that's causing this, that's kind of forcing their hand, or is it what the Warriors want to do?
I'm sure that Chris Paul would not want to come off the bench, but let's be honest, Chris Paul is
He's what, 38 at this point?
He's 38. He maybe has 1 or 2 more seasons left.
I mean, ever since the playoffs of when he, like, on his birthday, it was like that.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, he's not what he used to be, but you can't give him slack for that. I mean, he's 38 years old. There's only one player in the NBA that is as old as they are and can still do it, and that's LeBron.
I can't. I was watching a video of him, or the ESPN was playing like stuff of him preparing for this season. I don't understand how he does that stuff. It's crazy.
He spends millions of dollars a year on his body.
Yeah.
Like, he has to.
Of course.
And he has the overall goal of he has to make it to long enough so his son can play. And unfortunately, his son did have a really scary event occur, so I doubt that he's going to be coming out to the NBA after this season.
Is it both sons or just the one?
Just the one. He wants Bronny to make it to the NBA. No, he can't wait for, I think the other one's name is Bryce.
Well, he's not that much younger. He's like 3 years younger than Bronny.
Yeah,
dude, the way he's going right now.
LeBron almost retired after this year, and his overall goal was to wait for Bronny, and he almost retired even though Bronny wasn't there. He's ready. He's ready. He wants to retire. He doesn't want to. He's done everything that he wants to do. The only thing that he can do left is beat Jordan in rings, and he's not going to do that.
No.
He doesn't have the teams for it, and he doesn't want to ring hop by going to the Suns or the Celtics or the Bucks. He's not going to do that. So, yeah, I mean, he's going to retire. I don't think it will be after this season because, like I said, I highly doubt Bronny will come to the NBA after such a scary event. But, you know, maybe next season.
All right. And you said the Bucks with that trade still won't beat the Celtics.
No. I mean, Jason Tatum is probably going to be the best player in the NBA. So.
I just don't like him.
I've heard that a lot, but the fact of the matter is that he just keeps on progressing, and everyone thinks that it's his prime, and it's not his prime yet.
He's good. He's so good.
He's incredible.
He's so good. I just don't. Maybe it's because he's in Boston.
That draft, looking back on it, is just insane. It's just an insane draft.
And then the Sixers took Markelle Fultz.
Yep. And the Lakers took Lonzo Ball, who's probably going to also retire after this season.
It's not really his fault, though.
It's not his fault. At least it's not like the other Ball brother who never even made the NBA. I feel bad for LiAngelo?
I don't know.
I think it's LiAngelo.
Yeah, I think it is LiAngelo.
The last time I saw a video of him the other day, and him and LeVar Ball are promoting workout gear for like pull-up bars and like dip bars and everything.
Ooh.
And they're charging $1,850 for it.
For a bar?
And the worst part about it is it's such bad metal that the metal is bending when people are like doing pull-ups on it.
Shane, would you pay for that pull-up bar?
Absolutely not.
Shane's a big Ball fan. He's a huge fan of the Ball family.
Yeah, such a huge fan.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So.
No, but
That's what it's going to be. I
That's
think
it.
it's going to be Suns Celtics in the finals this year.
I really don't think there's a way to stop them. If the Bucks stay healthy through the whole season, and that's a
It's a big
huge if, obviously, but I just don't think there's a team that can stop them.
I'm also never going to throw out the possibility, especially after last season, that Jokic can't just do everything. So, I mean, Jokic is currently the best player in the NBA.
Yeah.
So, it's just... I heard something the other day. So, for those who don't know, Jokic actually got drafted during a Taco Bell commercial during his NBA draft. But another thing that people don't know, or at least remember, is that during that same draft, the Nuggets actually drafted a different center, and he got drafted in the first round, and that center's name is Jusuf Nurkic. So when Jokic started to do really, really, really well and just kept on developing, which no one expected, because he was drafted in the second round during a Taco Bell commercial. Jusuf Nurkic actually said, trade me, because I know he's going to start over me, and I don't want to be a backup. And Nikola Jokic went to the GM and Mike Malone and said, I hear what's happening. You can just bring me off of the bench. I just want everyone to be happy. He doesn't care.
He doesn't care.
He doesn't care.
Dude, if he cared about basketball, he'd be...
He does not care. If he cared about basketball, he would probably go down as the greatest center of all time. But he just doesn't care.
Just wants to go home.
He just wants
ride
to
his
go
horses.
home and go to his horses in Slovenia. Is it Slovenia that he's from? Or, I can't remember. I think it was Slovakia.
It's one of those.
Yeah.
Nah, but that Nuggets team.
Oh, I mean, they're going to be good. They're always going to be good.
Do an NBA preview soon.
Yeah.
But, no. I really don't. I know the Celtics are the Celtics, but I don't understand how they. It just completely different lineups to stop those two guys. You know,
Jeremy football is destroying them.
destroying. They're up by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, but you have to remember that we have the team that we do have.
You don't think our team?
Our team's horrible.
Really?
Yeah, our running back though,
Kellen Black.
Kellen
Lawson?
Black.
Or
I've been telling you, Jeremy, get Palmer away from the football and put
Palmer
Black
hasn't
in.
touched the rock in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and you want to know why? It's because Kalen Black is so much better than him.
And Tyson Lawson has been. He's been pretty good too.
Yeah, I have no idea how we ever thought that Palmer should be the starting running back week 1. I mean, the guy's horrible. No offense to him. I'm sure he's a very nice guy, and he could clearly do better than me. But the fact of the matter is when those two guys are there, how could you pick Palmer over him?
I don't know.
Our biggest problem, though, is our quarterback.
He's not. He's been solid. It's our passing defense.
I mean, our defense.
The
has
run defense
taken
has
a
been
lot of
elite.
hits this year. Oh, the run defense has been very good, but I mean, UVA game, all they had to do was, okay, everyone just do a Hail Mary, and you can just outrun all of our
It
DBs.
was one play drives. That's how they scored every time.
I mean, like, come on. They could just outrun them every single time.
Yeah.
Kellen Black still doesn't have a touchdown yet.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, it does.
He scored week 1.
He did?
Pretty
I
sure.
don't know. According to the JMU website stats, he doesn't have a touchdown
I'm
yet.
like 90% sure he scored week 1.
Maybe Lawson took it at the 1
Maybe.
or something.
Well, because that's what I've noticed is that they have Kalen Black being like the all-around back, and then as soon as they get close to the end zone, they put in a different guy.
It's because Kalen Black is more of a burst through and get you yardage, while when you get close to the line, you need a bigger
Power back.
back that can punch it in, who's not going to get a lot of yards, and Lawson's wider than Black is. Yeah, it's true. I mean, you see it in the NFL all the time. Perfect example is my Lions. I mean, We use Jahmyr Gibbs.
They don't use Jahmyr Gibbs.
They do use Jahmyr Gibbs a lot, and then they punch it in with Montgomery. Because Montgomery is a much better power back than Gibbs is. I mean, he just took over for Williams.
Jamal Williams, yeah.
Jamal Williams last year. So.
Yeah? No. I don't know. I can't get a read on this JMU team.
I was so shocked that Kirk Cignetti did not get a massive penalty last week.
For what?
Did you not see it?
Where he was showing.
Oh, Kurt Cignetti. Yeah.
When he showed the phone, he was like.
I think that other coach. I don't know what happened to him. The coach that brought the phone over.
Oh, that's not. That was my former boss.
Was it really?
Yeah, he's not a coach.
I love that. That's awesome.
I was literally looking at the screen, and I'm not gonna say his name, but
no, I got you.
I was literally being like yelling his name and being like, "You can't do that! You can't do that!"
It was great. I loved it.
Yeah.
But no, that what happened in that game? Because I watched the first half, and then
I watched the first half and then I turned it off.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't interested. I mean, I watched a little bit, but I mean, I think that we have a bad tendency of getting far out ahead and not going for the finishing blow. We just let them come back into the game, and if it wasn't for that late interception, we probably would have lost or at least gone to overtime.
3 straight interceptions at the end.
Yep.
But I can't get a read on this team because, they play so good half the time, and then the other half of the time they look like garbage.
The question really is JMU football close to getting ranked again like they were last year?
Yes.
You think so?
I do. I think they win this week. They I don't think they get in, but
let's say CBS usually does a full past 25.
They've been getting they got I think they got 4 votes on the AP poll this last week.
James Madison on the CBS top 25 is currently ranked 46th.
This is a big game. People are really high on South Alabama, and South Alabama is a good team.
That's 2-2.
They're a good team though. They win today. I think they move up to 30, and then if they win next week again, then I think they're ranked.
Yeah, I mean, who do we feel like going more into the college football realm? Who do we think is going to be championship this year? Is this the year where they've let more people in for the playoffs to lead up to
I think it's next year.
Is it next year?
Or maybe 2025. I don't know. I don't think it's this year, though.
Yeah. But, I mean, we're seeing some really good teams this year. I mean, Georgia's being Georgia.
Georgia, they'll figure it out, but, I'm so much more impressed with the Pac-12.
I'm impressed with Ohio State. I'm, really impressed.
That was that last second touchdown. Notre Dame had 10 people on the field 2 plays in a row. 3rd and 4th down, game on the line, 10 people on the field. What are they doing? Ohio State's looked really good.
Ohio State's looked really good, and I mean, they have the top wide receiver prospect going into the NFL next year.
I think it's Ohio State. I think it's Georgia, USC, and then Washington.
I keep on joking with people about Alabama. It's like you can't do what they used to do, because they used to do is be like, why do we have to pay you? You're going to play for Nick Saban. And now these players are getting millions of dollars a year. And now Alabama still is like, why do we have to pay you? And they're like, well, because you're not the number 1 program anymore. So
yeah.
The question really is because this upcoming draft for the 2024 NFL season is so quarterback heavy. like so quarterback heavy, and the question is,
The Bears are going to have 2 of the top 5 picks.
Yep, sure is, and they're going to draft a quarterback.
They're going to draft Marvin Harrison, and then they're going to draft Michael Penix Jr.
I'm wondering if Caleb Williams will come to the NFL this season, or if he's going to wait another year.
I think he will, honestly.
If you're going to get drafted that high, might as well, like, get that.
He said
first
he'd
round
go
contract
back
money.
to college if he didn't like the situation at the number 1 seed.
Yeah, he's
or
making,
number 1 pick.
He's making $2 to $3 million a year right now. So why would he go?
It's just so
Getting
much more
paid for all those
different.
ads, too.
Yeah.
It's in all the Wendy's ads and everything.
Yeah, I mean, he's making millions of dollars a year. He's making the same money that he would in the NFL if he stays in college. So why would he go? I mean, let's be honest, if the Cardinals have the number 1 pick, and the Cardinals have already hinted that they will take him if they have the number 1 pick,
I don't know if they will. They have Kyler.
I think that they're going to trade Kyler if they can.
They're not going to be able
San
to trade
Francisco
Kyler.
had Trey Lance, so.
What does that mean, Shane?
Well, it's just like, it just shows, like.
Kyler's not that bad.
It's just.
I'm not a Kyler fan, but Kyler's not Trey Lance bad.
Just teams are willing, if they see, like, a new shiny quarterback, they're like, all right, get rid of the old guy, we're going with this guy now.
Yeah.
The only time that's like ever actually happened is with the Cardinals when they picked Kyler Murray.
Yeah. I mean, but no, I mean, if you're Caleb Williams and the Cardinals are like, yeah, we're going to draft you, I'm going back to college. I mean, are you kidding me?
So which of the teams that are, 0-3, like the Bears, the Cardinals, the Broncos,
The Vikings.
the Vikings.
The Vikings. If the Vikings somehow get the number 1 pick, he's going to go to the 100%. I mean, look at their wide receiver core.
No, like,
It's incredible.
which of the teams do you not go to? Because the Vikings, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, Vikings are no-brainer.
But which of those teams are you saying, I'm staying, sorry guys, have fun, I'll be here next year?
Who are the 3 teams this year?
The Panthers, but
They're
but that doesn't matter because it's the Bears. So Bears, Broncos, Vikings,
Broncos, you go. Bears,
Cardinals aren't 0-3, but
they should be.
might as well be.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Chargers.
Chargers clearly are not going to draft him. But wait, no, Chargers won last week.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
they should have lost it. Both of those teams should have lost that game.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
neither
fair
team deserved to win that game. They both tried their best to lose, and unfortunately, one of them had to win.
I feel like that's how every Chargers-Vikings game should go. Because both of those franchises are just cursed beyond belief.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only one that you go back for is if the Cardinals.
Bears? Are you leaving for the Bears?
Why is your phone? Your phone is ringing.
No, I'm getting a phone call. Hello? Yeah, it is.
Okay. But I don't know. I feel like the only team.
Alright. I'll take a look at that in a second. I'm on the air right now, so I will look at that in a bit. Yeah. Alright, bye. Okay, I don't know who that was. Anyway, let's keep going.
Okay.
They were looking for an album. They also said they loved me. Anyway, let's keep going. What were you saying?
But no, I mean I think the only team is really the Cardinals because I think that you can go to the Bears. It's a Justin Fields problem.
You really think that?
It's a Justin Fields problem.
That offensive line is so bad.
It is so bad, but it's a Justin Fields problem. Justin Fields. I mean, if you watch the film on the Bears, there's been several times in these past games where DJ Moore is wide open. And it's not like, oh, he doesn't have enough time to throw. And he's just not looking towards the wide open. He has a predetermined wide receiver or tight end that he's going to pass to, and he only looks at them. And if that person is covered, then he runs. And teams have figured this out. So essentially, if DJ Moore is not the person that he has in his head when he gets the ball initially, DJ Moore is not going to get the ball. And that's horrible for a quarterback. I mean, I genuinely believe that there are several quarterbacks in the NFL that are backups that could do a better job on that Bears team than Justin Fields.
I'm surprised they don't have more running schemes with him.
They want him to be taken seriously as a passer.
Because essentially, if they keep on having him run, all the teams are going to do is they're going to float the box, stop the run, and then he's going to get flustered when this happens, and then he's going to throw interceptions. So they have to actually establish a pass game, but because he just is such a horrible passer, at least mentally wise, he's just never going to score touchdowns that way. Well, he does score touchdowns that way, but not consistently. But yeah, I mean, I think that really the only team that Caleb Williams shouldn't go is Cardinals. Do not go to the Cardinals. Don't go to that dumpster fire.
Oh well. But the Dolphins. If we're talking the NFL here, we need to talk about what the Dolphins did to the Broncos last week. 70 points.
The Broncos gave up. I mean, let's be honest. If you actually watch, for those who have been following the show for a while, you know that we're all in a fantasy league. And the Dolphins had 2 running backs score 4 touchdowns last week. One, Raheem Morset, and then the other one, the backup, Devon Hackney.
You are nailing these names, Peter. Raheem Mostert and Devon A-Chain.
Woo! I'm really good at names. And if you actually watch the ladders when he scores his touchdown, they just don't care. They just have an Olay defense. Let's get out of here. We don't want to be here.
It's so bad there. I don't understand it.
I just find it hilarious that they paid so much money for Sean Payton to come out of retirement, and this is how they're doing.
He's a defensive coach.
Yep. He sure is.
Sure doing a great job of that.
But, yeah, so fantasy football's been fun this year.
Dude, Dolphins, Bills this week. That's my favorite. My favorite game of the week.
You're getting another call.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
I'm not picking up right now. I'm finishing the show. I'll pick up after the show. Sorry to the people on the phone. They said they'd call back in 5 minutes, but it's not ringing this time. I'm sorry. Next time. I'll grab it. Anyway. Who do you have winning that game? Bills, Dolphins. It's
Dolphins.
in Buffalo.
Dolphins. I have Tua as the MVP front runner right now. Genuinely. I think there's a shot Tua wins the MVP this year. He's playing so well, Jimmy.
Yeah. Yeah, he is. Tua MVP doesn't ring in my brain. You know, it just doesn't.
Tua, I genuinely think there's a good shot Tua could win the MVP this year, especially if he's playing like he is, and then Tyreek Hill will be Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
I mean, Tyreek is playing incredible.
Insane.
I mean, that conversation for best wide receiver in the league now has Tyreek Hill right back in it.
He always was in it.
But, I mean, he was in it, but he was never actually considered the best for a little while. But now he could definitely be considered the best. I mean, who would you consider the best wide receiver?
Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson. And last year you could make the argument that number 2 was Jamar Chase.
Right.
And with how Joe Burrow is playing this year, that's been really hard for Jamar Chase to actually get things going. But, I mean, I think it's now. I still think Justin Jefferson is. I really want to talk to you.
What is that noise?
I think it's static from the speaker.
Okay.
I think that Justin Jefferson is still the best, but I think it's really close with Tyreek Hill.
What he can do is insane. No one else can do the stuff he does.
Not even close. I mean, he's the fastest player in the NFL.
I don't know. Apparently, Devon Achane was faster at some point.
Awesome for him. I guarantee you that 9 times out of 10, Tyreek's faster.
Yeah.
I mean, Tyreek this past offseason literally competed and won in an 100-yard dash for whatever it was called. Like, whatever Olympic type thing that was going on. He won his section.
That Dolphins team is just so fast, man.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they have a quarterback that can't throw far enough.
He's really impressed me. His arm strength has actually really impressed me this season.
It's impressed, but it's still not good enough.
He's your MVP.
He is my MVP because he's been playing the best. How about Jordan Love, though, on Thursday going against the Lions? That was sad.
It wasn't that bad.
It was horrible.
It wasn't that bad.
It was horrible. It was just a matter of time.
It was one game.
Yeah, against the greatest team of all time.
The greatest team of all time, yeah.
We're going to the Super Bowl this year, baby.
Who are you playing in the Super Bowl?
I don't know. I just know one thing's for certain.
Yeah, what's that?
And that certainty is that the Lions are going to the Super Bowl.
When was the last time the Lions won a playoff game again? Remind me?
I don't think I was alive.
No, you weren't. It's like 92 or something.
I was yelling at the TV being like, thanks a lot, Jared Goof, every single time he messed up. Every single time he messed up, I was like, we have such good players, and here comes Jared Goof to mess it up.
Oh.
Caleb Williams, if you want to like wait and somehow make it to the Lions, we'd love to have you.
The Lions are fine.
Tell me the Lions are going to have the number 1 overall pick?
I'll trade whoever has. I'll make the decision for the Lions. We'll trade anyone who has the number 1 overall pick, Jared Goof, for the number 1 overall pick. I'm sure you guys will take that deal.
If you're the Vikings, Shane, are you trading Kirk Cousins this season at the trade deadline?
Again, it depends on their return. But
to the Jets?
If we're not going to make playoffs, I would trade Kirk Cousins. If the Jets are offering... would they make that trade? Like, are they that desperate?
Yes. Zach Wilson can't throw forward.
I just, what would we get out of it is my...
First round pick?
Haven't they already traded that away to the Packers?
Yep.
No.
Or was that the last year's draft?
Well, no, because Aaron Rodgers...
he didn't play.
He didn't play, so now it's a second.
Oh, okay.
So first round pick? They wouldn't give up a first for Kirk. I don't know.
Well, Kirk's last season...
He's only got one more year. It's a rental, so...
If it's a first round pick, I would definitely do that if we're not making playoffs.
You guys aren't making playoffs.
Sorry.
One can hope, Peter.
Trevor Siemian. Trevor Siemian's going to come in and be the hero for the New York Jets.
You guys, unfortunately, I mean, unless the Lions implode, that division is the Lions' division to win. I mean, the Packers can't beat them, the Bears can't beat them, and the Vikings definitely can't beat them how they're playing. Poor Justin Jefferson.
It's just
he's going to demand a trade.
The Vikings' defense is just so bad, and the offense, they're just not clutch.
No,
surprise.
I feel bad because, honestly, Kirk Cousins, I've heard this saying before, is that as lucky of a player as Tom Brady is, or was, is the opposite for Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is probably the unluckiest player that there's ever been in the NFL.
And then he signed with the Vikings, and it's just that's just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. So. But, and then we got to talk about the Giants since we're talking about all of our teams before we go. The Giants
are exactly where they're supposed to be.
Exactly where they're supposed to be.
It's true. On my spreadsheet, they're exactly where they're supposed to be. 1-2. Going to finish the season 9-8.
Oh yeah, sure they are.
Make it into the playoffs as the 7th seed.
How's Saquon doing again?
He's day to day.
So your offense is day to day.
I think you're forgetting about the Daniel Jones legacy half.
Do you realize that in my trade that in our fantasy league that we just did, that I traded Daniel Jones and Devon, whatever his last name is, for Kyle Pitts, and
then they
he's
dropped
already dropped.
Yeah, I almost picked him
Daniel
up,
Jones.
and then I remembered I have 3 quarterbacks.
All I've got to say is I love having 2 Tyreek on my fantasy team. That combo is lethal.
Yeah, it definitely is.
You should trade him. I'm serious. You should. After this season.
Probably.
He's going to retire in 3 years.
We'll deal with that 3 years from now.
Anyway. Thank you, everyone, so much for tuning into this episode of the Triple Threat Show. We will be back next week. Same time, same place. You can check us out on YouTube at The Triple Threat Show. You can check us out on Instagram at The Triple Threat Show and on Twitter at 3Threat Show. You've been listening on WXJM 88.7 FM, Harrisonburg, Virginia, and WXJM.org. My name is Jeremy Lapidus, joined as always by my 2 friends and co-hosts,
Shane Brisland.
and
Peter Kegwin.
thank you so much. We will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Fantasy's been so much fun. I have to say, my